Now, ironically, as we move up through the chakras, the inner sense of self that we identify with becomes less, and a sense of the transpersonal, the interconnected self becomes more. So when you go to the sixth chakra and the sense of, are you seeing clearly? It isn't about you. It's a sense of that view that comes from wisdom or grace or love, consciousness. Keeping the Ujjayi breath steady, please raise your hands to your heart. These are just some lighthearted questions first thing in the morning. And so we'll chant this morning, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshvara. This chant means that we're recognizing there's a principle or a force that brings us from the gu to the ru, from the darkness to the light. And that force is involved in creation, sustaining, and dissolving. And may we see these forces and line up with them wisely and well. Let's begin. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshvara, Guru Sakshat Parara Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshvara, Guru Sakshat Parara Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshvara, Guru Sakshat Parara Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Hari Om. Hari Hari Om. You may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Please open your eyes. Take the arms and palms face out, like this. And then with your Ujjayi inhale, raise your arms up, pacing the breath, first, middle, and upper thirds, and also pace the lift of your gaze to meet the top of your inhale. Turn the palms face out and exhale, sweep wide. Now the exhale's going upwards, out through the nose, but the arms are coming downward, so is your gaze. Now inhale, the breath, the arms and your gaze are going upwards. Three times more. Listen for how you can cultivate the pace of the Ujjayi breath that's very smooth, and also you synchronize the movements of your body following the movements of the breath. The last couple of weeks, we're working on using the same quantity of air, but moving it more slowly. So making the Ujjayi breath even a bit more subtle, because your practices are developing along the way, week to week through the summer here. So one more time. That challenge that we're adding is not meant to make you feel breathless, but to give you a deeper sense even yet of the biofeedback of the breath and the power of the breath to really support your mind. Rest your hands in your lap and notice just one short practice has an influence. Please cross your ankles in Siddhasana so that your knees are a little closer together, but also the seat has a different relationship for the hip joints. You know, when you cross the ankles there, sit upright and then take the back of your left hand around the outside of your right thigh. Take your right hand to secure your left hand and then swish your belly to the right, the mid-torso to the right. Rotate your chest and heart to your right. And as you press down with your right hand on your left wrist, pull up with your heart during the inhale. And then exhale and draw the deep inner abdomen towards the spine and let's say back towards the left lower back. With the inhale again, raise up through your heart. Even though there's a kind of binding for the shoulders and the chest and the rib cage, raise upwards through your heart. Now, keeping your left hand at the back of the left hand on the right thigh, begin to side bend to your left. So your left shoulder coming towards your left knee. And see if you can still have the sense that the inhale is going to rise up into the chest and the heart, a little bit like a hot air balloon, making a kind of a curve in the sky. And then keeping your left hand secure on its own, raise your right arm up and across. And then rise up with an in-breath. Release both hands out over your knees. And pause to notice the inner recalibration. And then please switch your ankles. So you're going to have the other ankle on the inside or the outside, whichever way you like to talk about that. Bring the back of your right hand to the outside of your left thigh. Secure that. And then twist the inner belly to your left. Rise upwards. And in the rising upwards process, try to sense how you expand the heart at the upper part of your inhale in spite of this binding that we just placed on the upper chest. So one of the perennial questions with the chakras is like, how are we rising? How are we chaperoning our own journey to go upwards through the system? And we're going to add that side bend here. So you have a little bit more challenge for the lift of the breath up into the heart. Don't forego what's important at the first part of the inhale, second part of the inhale, upwards to the heart. Doesn't mean start at the heart, means still begin at the low belly. And then raise your left arm up alongside your left ear. You use your inhalation to raise up and to release the pose. Rotate to center and notice again there's a recalibration that your body already knows how to do from the inside. And then bring the feet back to Siddhasana. So sitting in a more stable base, it's a little bit wider base for the knees. So you have the 2 feet lined up. So it's foot like heel, heel, and then the pubic bone like that. And then bring the back of the left hand around the outside of the right thigh. And that means you have to reach across. So there's a little forward bend, there's a twist, and there's going to be a side bend in a few moments. If possible, sneak the back of your left hand around your right thigh so that your left fingers come to the floor. And possibly for some of you, the left palm will be flat on the ground. And right hand to the left wrist. So we've come a little bit forward and a little bit to the right side, and then swish your twist like a barber pole going up into the heart. Keeping as much of the back of your left hand around the outside of your right thigh as you can. Raise your right arm up. And then inhale, rise up, turn the back of the left hand over. So you've got your palm against the outside of your right thigh. And please twist in an upright position to your right. And then rotate around to face center. There's a zigzag going on in your body somewhere. And then bring your other foot to the inside of your Siddhasana. So you're again changing for the purpose of fairness to the hips and the knees. You bring the back of your right hand to the outside of your left thigh. So you have to come across. And if possible, the fingers can come down towards the floor. Take the left hand to your right wrist. And raise upwards through the heart while coming forward and twisting to your left. The journey upwards from the first to the second, third, up to the fourth chakra is not one of like being in denial about something in the lower chakras. It's not a journey of spiritual bypassing. But there are occasions where we have to remind ourselves that the journey is one of going upwards. And to reconnect to the qualities of the heart that will help us actually to give some measure of compassion or kindness to the inner work we're doing at the lower 3 chakras. Let's inhale and sweep the left arm up alongside the left ear, keeping as much of the back of your right hand around the outside of your left thigh as you're able to. And then as you rise up, turn your right hand over so that the outside of your thigh and your palm come together. And walk the left hand around behind you as you twist to your left. And then rotate around to face forward. Take your hands out over your knees. Gurura Brahma, Gurura Vishnu, Gurura Deva, Maheshvara, Gurura Sakshat, Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Namaha, Namaha. And may the principles that create, sustain, and dissolve, may they be alive and well in us. Please come over to your knees in Vajrasana. We're going to do a little bit of kriya. It's called kriya. And then we will be coming down to a couple of yesterday's practices. So I'm going to recommend that you have padding already available for your head. And just check and see that that's going to be suited to you so that when you come down, you have a sense, okay, the hands will be in one place, the head, and you know where you're going to be, as it were, where you're going to be praying. Okay, let's place the hands on the knees. We're going to do bhastrika, and then it's going to come into kapalbhati, and then we'll be doing these rolls down. So try to sense the change that happens in you, breath practice to breath practice. So palms face down to start. Place your attention down at the second and the third chakra. This is bhastrika. Exhale. Inhale to suspension. Exhale slowly and completely. Now a rapid inhale and rapid exhale. Brisk, I sometimes use the word brisk. We're going up and down. So, Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale to suspension. Exhale slowly and completely. And then deeply relax. Let your body and your breath just work together, coming back to homeostasis. And now we're going to take the hands over the knees. On the inhale, we're going to be coming up from the floor sometimes. So when the hands are over the knees, make the fingers firm so that when you inhale, you are going to open the throat at the top. And then we're going to exhale and come forward. Place the hands, roll up with your hips, touch your hairline, and then the crown of your skull up. And then roll back and bring your fingers out over your knees to hold on as you inhale to go up. And then exhale, you're rolling down. And as you come hips up off your heels, roll from your hairline up to the crown of your skull, press down. Inhale, roll your hips back to your heels, hold the knees, reach upwards through your heart and your throat. And exhale. Twice more, please. When you're holding onto the knees here for the inhale, my hope is that you sense the muscles that you're stretching along the neck and the throat. And then exhale and return to your simple seat, Vajrasana. Now we'll take the second variation where we have the hands clasped behind the back. So reach back to interlace your fingers, roll your chest, heart, and shoulders open, and look up, please. And then follow your exhale. So the torso comes down, touch your hairline, raise your hips, come up to the crown of your skull, arms up towards the ceiling or the sky. And then rolling down, hips to your heels, rise up. And exhale. So at your own pace, of course, not at my pace. And one more time, please rise up. Using the full inhalation, open your heart, your throat, and your gaze. And then exhale to release. Listen for any sense of clarity that comes, especially through the upper chakras. And please rise up to prasarita padottanasana. This is the standing wide leg forward bend, and I do prefer that your feet are the length of one leg apart, left to right. Go ahead and bring your blocks into reach. And walk your hands out over the block so that your hands are elevated on the blocks. This is to give a little more spaciousness through the torso, a little more length to the spine. Press firmly down with both feet against your yoga mat and come into the Ujjayi breath. And I'm going to ask you now to start bringing a little more attention to the quality of the breath. So the same quantity of inhale, but perhaps taking a little bit longer for inhale and same for exhale. One of the practices that really matures our entire yoga journey is this pranayama. So at the third chakra, we have this imperative for discernment, discernment to put skill into action. So doing your best now to bring the smooth quality of the breath with you. Take the back of your left hand, reach under and towards your right foot. And you may be someone who can reach your right shin, your right ankle, or the outside of your right foot. And then tuck under to twist to your right. As you're twisting to your right, think of the back hemisphere of the body as broadening or expanding, like you're leaning back into the left lower back, left side waist, left shoulder blade. The exhale may be a time when you can twist a little more to your right, but without any sense of pressuring yourself to go farther or deeper in the physical body. The depth of our yoga practice is in the inner body. So if we practice in such a way as you're respecting the physical body, the annamaya kosha, working wisely with the pranamaya kosha, you're then able to work more wisely with the mind, the manomaya kosha, and then to come back into the inner realm of wisdom, the gnanamaya kosha, and ultimately then back into the most indwelling realm, the anandamaya kosha. With your next inhale, release your left hand, sweep it out to the left, and exhale, bend the left knee deeply. Bring your right hand across to hold your left ankle, and please twist to your left. Now, as you're holding the left ankle, drop your hips back and down so the left knee is bent in line with the toes of your left foot. And again, don't focus on striving too much in the physical pose. Be, accurate, enthusiastic, committed, but without a sense of striving. That would be a distraction from the inner experience. So now as you're straightening your left leg, Keep a nice hold on the outside of your left ankle and walk the left hand back to its block. And twist under your left upper arm. Lean back a bit into the right lower back, the right sideways, right shoulder blade. And keeping the breath smooth and to the best of your ability, the inhale equal with your exhale. Now take your right arm out to the side. Inhale, bend your right knee, walk the left hand over to your right ankle, and twist to your right. And then glide back to center into prasarita padottanasana. Let's make the foot, hand, hand, foot now, and curl down with your torso. It is not necessary for the top of your head to touch the floor, nor is it likely for everyone to have those body proportions. And please shift your hands to your hips and let's rise up to standing. Turn your heels in and your toes out and come down to the jazz dance warm-up pose. Press out from the inner thighs to the knees. Root the tailbone down and bring a little extra focus now back to the pranayama. So sometimes when a yoga pose becomes more complicated for you, or it's a little bit like that adventure, where are we going? You may lose touch with the pranayama. So coming through the Annamaya kosha, touch again into the pranamaya kosha, the breath body, and let that help you to more wisely steward your mind. The wandering mind is what I'm referring to. Now keeping your sitting bones, your tailbone, your sacrum stable. The pelvis should be stable here. Turn your left hand in and twist to your right. In twisting, let the torso come a little bit forward. So you could imagine that you might even stack the right shoulder over the left shoulder. Just keep both arms straight so you really have an accurate sense of rotating your spine. And then rotate back to center. And let's switch the hands. Turn your right hand in, left hand out. And again, don't become like too bedazzled of or enamored about like how your physical asana could become somehow more stunning. But rather that you want to have an maybe the inner luminosity is more stunning to you, not the outer performance. And then rotate back to center. You press down with both heels and rise up. We're going to go toe heel, toe, heel into center. And come to mountain pose. I'll change the angle of the camera there. And in mountain pose, place your feet to the hip distance apart. Let your arms dangle and notice if you were to imagine a barber pole or a spiral going up through these chakras or just like a central antenna, how are things feeling? Reach for your 2 blocks, please, and place them. We're going to take a wide stance. Place the left block at the ready over there, the right block at the ready over here. We're going to go to the right first. So take the left heel, step it out slightly. Take your right foot and turn it directly to the right. This is for a triangle pose, which I know that you guys know. So inhale, sweep the arms wide. Now, keeping the left outer hip stable, so your hips are not going to sashay to the left. It's not a belly dance action right now. We're going to come up and over with the pelvis and the torso. And there's your block, yeah. So inhale the left arm past your left ear. And then exhale, circle your left arm around behind the small of your back and gaze down. Rotate your left shoulder back as you inhale and turn your nose to the right. Now with this inhale, sweep your left arm up overhead and slowly rotate your gaze to go up past your left tricep. And then exhale, big circle with your left arm, gaze down, take your nose to the right. And inhale, big circle with the left arm, gaze up. And exhale again, big circle with the left arm, gaze to your right. Last one, inhale, rise up and gaze up. Root into both feet and exhale, rise up from the strength of the left low belly. Release your left arm. Switch your feet, please. Take the right heel just slightly back. And inhale the arms wide. And exhale, come down. Again, not sashaying your hips to the right, but coming up and over. Sweep your right arm past your right ear. And now with an exhale, take your right arm up, a big circle with your arm, turn your palm, and take the back of your hand to the back of your sacrum as you look down. Rotate your nose to the left and your right shoulder to the right. And now with the inhale, we'll come up and gaze up. And exhale, keep the right outer hip steady. Make the left leg longer and your left footprint more grounded. Inhale, rotate. Of course, again, you have to move at the pace of your breath because the length of your breath may not be attuned to the length of my breath. And with an exhale, tone your right low belly, rise up to standing. Release your right arm and your left. Make the feet parallel. Reach back to interlace the fingers now and bring your hips forward in line with your toes. Go up with the chest and the heart. Open your throat. And then exhale, we're going to come down. So bring your hips back in line with your heels and Cascade down and over. Inhale slowly to rise up, but have no sense of rushing your body nor your breath. Exhale slowly to come forward and down. Again, at the pace that's your breath cycle. One more time to go down. And last time to come up. And bring your hips into line with your heels. And let's go heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, back to mountain pose. And check again and see, okay, what's happening with your antenna or this sort of barber pole idea? What is happening now? And let's get the folding chair or whatever chair you're using that doesn't fall over. Your stable chair. We've learned from experience that it's good to put beverages out of the way. Let me just bring the camera down. And then you're going to want to have your 2 blankets. Let's take the 2 blankets and make sure there's no wrinkles. Hold your blanket in half securely so that the rounded edge of the blanket, you know, is firm, not lumpy, not wrinkled. And you've got your 2 blocks nearby. Okay, again, I've been saying this just about every day. I know that sometimes getting into this position can feel awkward because I'm asking you to sit down in the space between the blankets and the chair. And then you start in this kind of deficit with the hips, and then you have to come up into your pose. So let me thank you again for being willing to explore it this way. My intention is to have the most stability for your shoulders here so that you can experience the pose comfortably and appropriately. Okay, so we've got the blocks. Let's put the shoulders at the edge of the blanket. Roll onto your back. Yes, your hips are probably a little bit under your chair. Pick up the hips and put the blocks there so you can tuck the shoulders. You can tuck them under on the blanket and reach back with your fingers to check that where the shoulder is, you are not right at the edge of the blanket where you could slip off. You're about an inch or so from the top part of the blanket. And then you put your blocks under your hips and hold the legs of the chair. Okay. So we're going to go up just a short ways to start because I want you to take a moment when you lift your hips up just higher than your shoulders, tuck each shoulder under. So you're not at your full position and you're not fully weight bearing yet on the shoulders and the head. Now make the feet firm on your chair and decide for yourself, do you feel like you have a firm enough grasp on the legs of the chair? If all is well, then begin to raise your hips up. Bring your chin down towards your throat. And as you go up, you may find that actually there's another scooch of the shoulders that makes your pose feel like the foundation is yet again stronger. Root into your heels and your toes. And gaze in towards your heart. Use the strength of your legs so that the tailbone continues to rise towards your knees. The hamstring should feel toned here. And the quadriceps engaged but also lengthened. Let the mind come into the breath body, the pranamaya kosha. Let the breath body bring you into the mental body, where we want the wandering or chattering mind to slow down, maybe even to become silent, and the witness mind more present. And from the witness mind, we move in towards the wisdom mind, the Vijnanamaya kosha. And begin to lower your hips down without unhooking the shoulders. So when your hips first come down, it's going to be like you're doing a back bend with the spine. The blocks will be there for your pelvis to land on. Release your hands from the chair legs and take your arms overhead. You might even hold the opposite elbow with the opposite hand. The movement of the arms there will just cause the shoulders to lean off the back edge of the blanket, and the blankets are probably somewhere near your first or second thoracic vertebrae. And bring the knees in towards your chest. And as you do that, you're going to be causing the spine to come into flexion, and you'll be going slightly backwards off of the blankets. Next vertebrae, like you're somewhere between the second and the third vertebrae. Now reach your arms overhead. Place your feet on the edge of the chair, and let's scooch back so you're at the thoracic third, fourth, and down just under the shoulder blades. And keep scooching backwards, hopefully without pulling your hair. And also without making a lump of your blankets. Scooch back until you have your hips on the blankets. The feet can just rest on the front of the chair, and the arms can then relax overhead. Reach for the two blocks. You may have to use your feet to help get to them. And then check that the chair is where you want it to be for your shins. Take one block overhead, just behind the head. And the second block, that is from yesterday and the day before. Reach your fingers around the block so you can now firmly press the blocks against your head and your head against the blocks. This is a simulation of the headstand pose. Notice what happens in your throat, your eyes, the breath in the belly. Don't pull your hair, please. The shoulder blades come down away from the ears. And the crown of your skull is again actively pressing into the blocks. Notice in this position what is possible with the breath just coming down into the lower belly. And then release your hands from the blocks and come to your Shavasana pose. So in whatever way you need your Shavasana to be more nourishing, please do that. Like I have my shawl here to cover up with. You might have an eye pillow. Since we're working with the upper chakras, it can be nice actually to cover the eyes in your Shavasana. It gives you a little pratyahara. It's not necessary to do it, but if you have the means to, you can. And come to rest, please. And remind yourself that as you're coming up through the chakras, the sense of self, once you get to the fourth chakra and above, that self lessens in what we would think of as a healthful way. You move from the personal and the intrapersonal, even through the interpersonal up to the transpersonal. So invite yourself to rest in that possibility here. Allow the mind to really deeply rest. Particularly, I'm speaking to the wandering mind. So you can witness the movement of prana, the shifts in your physiology. Those are happening from your practice into your shavasana. Keep the wandering mind very quiet. The witnessing mind noticing the body gets heavier, the breath gets more inward, the senses can come back home. Allow the process to continue. The wandering mind getting more deeply still. The medicine of your practice going more deeply within. In the process of further allowing that, let it go a few degrees more deeply yet again. And from this inner place in Shavasana, you can bring some attention down to the root chakra and ask yourself, okay, how might I improve on my responsibility to be grounded or stable in life? not just in your downward dog. And you could ask of the second chakra, how might you today improve on the wise stewarding of your senses? And the third chakra, how might you have a little bit more inner leadership today, directing yourself on behalf of the Dharma or your contribution, your focus in life. And the fourth chakra, that sense of compassion and reciprocity. And the fifth chakra, the clarity of speech, saying what is true. And the sixth chakra, a clear sense of seeing. And you can please transition from your Shavasana to come back up to your seat. And bring the hands to the mudra for the first chakra. And then to the second. And the third. The fourth chakra. The fifth. And the sixth. And take the hands to Anjali Mudra. And then raising up your commitment, your inner dedication to the sixth chakra. At the same time, bowing the head to the heart. And then placing that back in the heart and sharing it with your community. We are receiving from each other and also giving it out to the nearby and the wider world. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste.